You're currently muted.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. Amen. What happened? What is this? Can I turn it off?
Everything looks good from our end.
Oh, but something happened here. Okay. All right. So, is this screen okay?
Yes.
What? I don't see the screen. Why? I see. Okay. So we have been studying chapter Najm, Alhamdulillah. Well, now we studied up to verse 38. The last verse was, let me get it. Yep. About the previous prophets, Moses and Ibrahim, the prophet Moses and the prophet Abraham were mentioned, and the last verse said that Abraham who fulfilled his duty. Yeah, it means the prophets have fulfilled their duty. Now we say it must be God's principle that he sends prophets. We discussed on it, we touched upon it a bit, because without the prophet, we cannot get the message. Without the message, we cannot go beyond the capacity of this universe, and we won't have any answer to our human senses, because human senses require something more than this universe. It means human senses require eternity, whereas this universe does not offer it to us. Now, that is the principle that we have to bear in mind, although it may be discussed from many aspects, from many perspectives, that if there was no prophet, there would be no responsibility in order to fulfill the requirements of our human senses. It means having a relationship with the Creator, who is, by definition, not of the nature of this universe. And without the message from the Creator through the prophets, messengers, I would never be able to imagine that the universe has a creator, and I have to have some sort of relationship with it, with this creator, and I wouldn't know how to have it, how to have this relationship with it. So there must be some people on the earth who have not heard of the prophet, and even there are some people as well, we have to admit, they might have heard the prophet. That's a sensitive subject, so we have to be careful here. They might have heard about religion, not necessarily Islam, maybe Christianity, Judaism, etc. but what uh, they might have heard may be a wrong representation of religion. So the people who hear this message about the religion, talking about God, etc., but in such a way that it may not make sense to them. It means it is a misrepresentation, maybe. It may be a misrepresentation. So we have to understand that those people who receive the message from the Creator have some sort of very serious, heavy responsibility, which means they should be extremely careful not to represent God's religion, God's message. That's a very serious responsibility, because if someone sees me as a Muslim speaking in terms of religion, or Christian in terms of Christianity, they may, or I may, represent Islam in such an unacceptable manner that it doesn't make sense. People cannot confirm it, and the responsibility remains on me. And this person may say, "Look, it doesn't make sense. How can I accept this?" And then he may remain outside the scope of responsibility of following the message of God because of me. That is interesting, but I will be responsible for my duty. Everybody will be responsible within their own capacity, whatever they are given, because we didn't choose to come to this world in a certain part of the part of the geography of the world and in a certain time. So whoever brought me in this world in the 20th century, and some of you are in the 21st century, maybe. So my Creator has the right to make decision, not me. I don't know, because I was created and I found myself here. I am really innocent, and God doesn't say, or God also never gives us the news that I am responsible because I was born in 20th century. That makes sense. And I personally understand this. And in a certain part of geography, although I may be able to move, but nowadays, for example, it's not very easy to move from one place to another. Everywhere is restricted with boundaries, nation-state boundaries, almost worldwide. Applied this principle of nation state. So we may not. For example, I can change the city, I can change my neighborhood, but I cannot change my country. For example, it's not that easy for everyone. So my responsibility will be within the conditions of where I was created, and maybe with a slightly different options I may have from one city to another, etc., from one neighborhood to another, or from one friend to another. I may change my environment, but it's within a limited area. time-wise, I cannot change it. That's for sure. So whatever I am presented, I am responsible for it. Because we are getting ready to understand verse 38. So the prophets bring the message, they fulfill their duty perfectly, but it doesn't mean that they will reach out to Alaska, for example, or Siberia, for example, just to mention these a few places. Maybe some people are illiterate that don't know how to read and write, and they may not have received it, but they will be responsible within the capacity of their environment, their human capacity. They may have the feelings in the positive sense, in the negative sense, it means through their free will, they may use right way or wrong way, or they may not train themselves to control their ambitions, or to prefer to practice their free will in the right way, in the wrong way, as far as they know. That is their responsibility. But as far as the responsibility of the prophets, the messengers, is concerned, they fulfill their mission perfectly. And if we happen to know it, we have to work on it seriously and study it. Spend some time and then decide whether I can approve it or not. Okay. Now, verse 38 says, which means that no soul shall bear the burden of another. That is a principle, and a very important principle in the Quranic ethics. First of all, I can tell you this, and I'm sure you will agree with me. I'm guessing, I'm pretty sure that you will say, yeah. For example, speaking about other religious traditions, it is easy to understand what's right, what's wrong, because it doesn't really hurt me, because I'm not talking as about Islam and my relationship with Islamic tradition, Islamic religion. Christianity says, because of the Adam's sin, from birth, we are sinful. So I'm sinful. Why? Because my great-great-great-grandfather made something wrong and I inherited it. Can you please answer me, please? Don't hesitate, just say whatever comes to your mind. Make it more interactive. Let's say a more interactive conversation here, friendly conversation. Do you think, is it fair? Adam committed, my great-great-great-grandfather committed a sin and I inherited it. And I am, from my birth, I have from my birth some default conditions. What do you think? Is it acceptable? Does it make sense? Qasim says, no, it doesn't make sense. Well, I think Qasim knows English. I think he can speak. I mean, you can speak. Let's say.
It's a means for barakah.
I couldn't get you.
Sorry, that wasn't me. Someone else was saying something.
Oh, somebody else, was it? I didn't know that one. Okay.
But yes, on my end, I think it doesn't make sense.
Okay. Anyone else? from if I was given one hand.
I think I think sense isn't the question.
I don't know who spoke. I guess Talu. Did you speak Talu? Oh, sorry. I'm muted. No, not muted. Okay. Talu, was it you? You said something or somebody else?
No, it wasn't me. Somebody else. But no, it doesn't make sense that I should be judged based off of I don't know, like my grandparents' choices.
What would the story of Abraham be if he didn't reject his father's idols?
No, that is something else. Okay, Ali is speaking now. Ali?
Yes.
Yeah.
Salam Ali.
Alaikum salam. Say, I mean, I would like to hear you.
I don't think it's a question of fairness. I think it's a question of qadr and where one finds themselves. That it's an opportunity for striving, whether that striving be against whether that striving be payment for anything worldly or otherwise. It's an opportunity to be given something from within, from the heart, and to make it manifest. There are stones that people carve and make idols out of, and then those stones themselves, those idols, can be carved, broken, so that the unmanifest becomes manifest.
Yeah, but the fundamental question was, thank you, Ali. Fundamental question was, your mic is still unmuted. When you want to speak, you can unmute. Otherwise, it's better to mute your mic. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Ali. Okay, now, briefly, very simply, the question was, there was another chat. He said, I think it is notion of being responsible for someone else's sin connects one to the past rather than living with one's choice. Now, in other words, it in a way absolves oneself of choice or responsibility. I think we understood. Thank you. That's a good comment. Thank you for all. Yeah. So no one can bear the burden of another. It is a very, very fundamental principle. Not necessarily that one nation, one group of people will be responsible for something that a person, one of them, has did something wrong to another person of who belongs to another group of people. So you cannot really punish the nation. You have to find the one who did something wrong. You cannot punish another person because it is, for example, Fariha asked, what was the fundamental question? Now, the question is this, not the, okay, in summary, question is this. Adam committed a sin. Now I am sinful. Does it make sense? Because my great father did something wrong and I inherited in me. It means, I mean, the question is it fair? Adam's sin, I will bear it now. It means my creator has transferred the sin of Adam onto me. It's not my responsibility, is it? Do you understand? Did I make it a bit clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, but the matter is not that simple. How about a group of people from another country? Nowadays, I'm speaking in terms of this world now. A group of people, 1 person, 10 person, maybe, did something wrong, which is possible, and we are seeing it, we are experiencing it in our practical life now. Two people go and kill somebody from another country. Someone kills someone from another country, and this country declares war, and many other people are killed. And we say there is a war between 2 nations, but I haven't done anything. Why do you kill me? But one of your fellow countrymen did something wrong. Is it right? Declaring a war against a country because somebody killed someone from another country. What do you think?
It doesn't make sense.
No, I agree. It doesn't make sense. But why do you think the wars are declared nowadays? From one nation to another nation?
I think because of association.
Sorry, couldn't get it?
Because of association.
You're currently muted.
Because of someone else's choice, of which I had nothing to do with, Suhail says. And Qasim said something, but I have to be honest, I didn't understand the word.
Sorry, I was saying because of association.
Is it fair?
No.
Yeah, it is not fair. When, for example, if my neighbor harms your car, for example, can you punish me? Because my neighbor did it.
No.
Okay, let's make the scale shorter and shorter. How about if my son or daughter does something wrong? Can you punish me?
No.
Because of his mistake?
No.
It wouldn't be fair. Yeah, but can you say that it is your son, man? You didn't educate him. You didn't give a good training or education to your son.
One can say that, but I don't think it's fully justified or fair.
Correct. Everybody can say anything. You are correct. You are right. But it is not justifiable. No, but let's come closer a bit more. Because family membership, belonging to the same family, doesn't mean that all the family has to share the responsibility. No. Now, I have a problem here. For example, I may have a bad habit in one sense. I'm thinking of a very simple example. I'm trying to think of a very simple example, but how can I say? For example, no, doesn't make sense. This is not a good example. In one field, I may be very sensitive and react unjustly. But in other parts of my life, I may be a nice person. So can you totally punish me for saying that you are a bad person? No, I feel that whether you agree or not, please let me know. I feel that this habit, no, this character of yours is wrong, not the other one.
Yes, I agree that it would be wrong to say that a person is bad just because of one action, or many for that matter.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So we have to be very careful. For example, in this society, which is, I don't know whether it's justifiable or not, or is there any other option? I don't know. I cannot argue about it, but somebody, for example, does something wrong to somebody, and this person is totally outcast from the society, put it in prison totally, for a short period. But we have to be careful not to go beyond the scope of the mistake. We have to, for example, we have to be honest. We have to be have a positive attitude towards the people who may have one side, one sense, some wrong or mistaken attitude, but this person may have other good attitude, characters. So we have to be tolerant to them, because we cannot punish the good character, good side of the person because of one character, two side of the person. We have to say, okay, in this sense, for example, I may not do any financial interaction with you, financial transaction with you, because you are not honest in your financial transactions. But it doesn't mean that this person cannot tell you something true or give you a good idea about something else, not in financial subject, but in another matter. We have to be tolerant to the people as far as their good sides are concerned. We have to be sensitive about being very just while we are, for example, having a relationship with somebody who might have hurt us. Another thing, for example, can I say, because while I was a child, I was abused, or my parents were very harsh to me. Now I am a bad person. What do you think?
It would be unfair.
Anybody else? I see only one voice, because, okay, anybody else? What do you think? I was treated in a bad way with my environment. I was brought up in an environment which had lots of bad habits. Now I am under the influence of this, and I have to do the same mistake, do the same thing, same wrong thing. Can I do that? Is it?
It's a hard question to answer. So I'm gonna repeat the question again. So can I say that, oh, because my childhood was like that, so I developed this habit of doing so and so? You know, it's really hard to answer because, you know, how we say that a person is shaped by its environment, or like the way you are educated, that's how, you know, what you learn. So even at school, let's say you're learning a subject, and you know, and then you later go on saying, oh, you know, I know it this way because, you know, my teacher taught me this way. So it does come up like that, but let's see what others have to say.
It's a very sensitive subject, I know, and there may not be, why it changed here? Okay, there may not be a straightaway answer to this question, but no soul shall bear the burden of another. We have to expand this. When we say Adam's sin cannot make me a sinful person, okay? My mother's sin, can my mother's sin make me a bad person? Anyone?
No.
So the environment, yes, environment seem to have effect on us, but are we not responsible for our own choices according to the options that I have been given by my creator? Environment is bad. Yeah, it means I'm being trained, educated in a bad environment rather than a good environment. But at the end of the day, am I not responsible for my own free will? What do you think? According to the conditions, I'm not saying that everyone must be equal. No. According to the life conditions, we are responsible for our free will to make the decisions, to choose. It is easy, and nowadays it is very generally practiced, that we transfer the responsibilities to something else, especially environment, previous life experiences, somebody else's treatment. Yeah. How are we going to solve this problem? This is a very important principle. So Juan and Shahira says, my upbringing may explain my bad behavior, but doesn't justify it. Now, Suhail also read. Suhail cannot speak? Can you not speak? So you're writing long things. So.
Salam alaikum. So just a few comments. I guess, you know, obviously it's a sensitive subject, but when somebody speaks about the environment, there is no such thing as the environment out there. It's not some, you know, thing you can point to. The environment's just, it's just a compilation or a grouping of everybody's individual choices. In other words, everybody's own individual choice makes you perceive a certain environment, and that those choices other people make, they are simply that sort of whatever culture, environment, whatever you want to call it, that's based on other people's choices, is presenting you certain options. But people's choices don't make you choose certain options. They're just options are being presented, and you have a choice of whether you want to, exercise on the options being presented to you. Now, you may not know what option is best because maybe the choices of everybody else is what you're familiar with, but that doesn't mean you didn't choose whatever you wanted.
Thank you. It is a beautiful explanation. While I was listening to you, you remind me a very simple example. For example, let's say I am a young guy. My mother or father, maybe both, asked me to go and buy all these things and gave me a shopping list. So I went to the market or store. There are, let's say, 6 items to be bought from the store, but only 4 of them are available, 2 of them are not. Now, I am, in this example, as Suhail said, under the influence of the effect of the environment. I cannot get 6 items that I am required to get it. Can anybody blame me that I didn't get it because my father asked me to buy 6 items and there wasn't there, only 4 of them were possible? Do you think my father can blame me? Why didn't I get 6 of them? No answer?
No.
No, it's understandable. As Suhail said, or other friends maybe might have pointed the same. However, do you get influenced by others? No, we will talk about it. It's a good point, Feriha. Keep it, because this principle, principle, is a very, very important principle in Islamic ethics or morality, whatever you call it. So I am under the influence of environment. I couldn't get 6 items, but 2. But how about going to the store and not really being careful? And although it was available, I didn't make the necessary search for it and took 3 items, bought 3 items and came back home. And if my father says, look, I asked you to buy 6 of them in this store, 4 of them were available, but you got 3. Am I responsible for the one which is missed in the list? Then I didn't buy it. And do you think I am to be blamed for it? It's
Yes.
I am, yeah. So God, or somebody wrote something, I have to get it. So yes, because the option was presented to you and I am responsible to use my free will. I am responsible to use my free will in order to make the best choice within a given environment. Although environment may restrict me, but I am responsible as a person who is living in a restricted environment, but to use my free will to make the best choice. Otherwise, I will be responsible for my free will because I haven't used it used it properly. Environment and some previous experiences may have an effect on me, but this doesn't restrict my or justify my responsibility of choosing between right and wrong within a given life conditions. My free will is absolutely free. I cannot say that. I cannot say that I couldn't exercise my free will freely because I am the influence of something else. Is it possible? Was it an option in front of your free will? Then you have to choose it. If it is not an option, it is not your responsibility. If it is an option, it is my responsibility. I have to understand this. Do we agree on this? So the justifications usually thrown on others, external factors, rather than concentrating on my free will. What am I using? How am I using my free will? Again, we have to be fair. How am I using my free will within a given environment? Because environment is not my choice. We discussed this. If it was the choice, for example, I went to one store and I couldn't find all the things I want to buy, or my father or my mother wanted me to buy it. But there was another store. I didn't go there. I said, who will bother? Wasn't it my choice? I would say, I went to the store in order to make myself, defend myself. I went to the store, there was not that options. That's why I didn't buy it. But my father or mother says, did you go to the other one next to it or close to it? I said, oh, I went there. That's my responsibility. No, the responsibility, as far as you can do it within your capacity, you have to go to the other store. It means any given option must be freely chosen. Do we agree on it? Any given option must be freely chosen. I cannot say, because all my friends at high school were drug addicted, so I got used to it. All right? Now, right now, why do you go and join the same gang again? But I got used to it. You have a free will. You may not go there. You may decide not to. But I got used to it. I am addicted. No, you may choose to quit. You have a free will. I think most of the time we make a lot of unjust decisions about other people, about ourselves, by attributing or by referring the mistakes to the effect of external factors. We have to be careful. Was there my solution for this problem, for myself to educate myself, to train myself? Was there an option for me to choose or not to choose something? As long as there is an option, I am responsible. Okay?
Dr. Ali, Salam Alaikum. Dr. Ali, there seems to be also another caveat. We shouldn't oversimplify you're addicted, you have a choice. Because it's not, we have to be careful against that conclusion as well, because it may not be for an addict or for a victim of certain trauma. It might not be, the free choice might be a dilemma rather than a free choice. So that reduction of meaning is a little bit of a concern for me. I get your point, and we need to contemplate what you're saying more, but not at the expense of belittling or reducing trauma, addiction, and other problems like that. Thank you. This is Maha, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us from far away. Okay, thank you. Now, let's go back to the, are you speaking still? Okay, thank you. Now, let's go back to our previous conditions. As long as there is an option, we have to use it. For example, if a person is deaf, somehow I am partially deaf, so I understand their problem. Okay. He cannot hear it. Is it an option to hear or not to hear? No, he cannot hear it. That is a physical problem. It's a biological problem, understandable. For example, if someone is under the influence of a trauma, does he have an option? Trauma is so heavy, so, how do you say, influential on his choices. He cannot use it. It is beyond his capacity to make a right decision or freely use his free will. It means his free will is restricted from some reasons, biological reasons, that he cannot really make decision. It is beyond his choice. Of course, he is not responsible. The definition was this: as long as something is within our choice, we have to concentrate on our responsibility, as long as something is within our choice. But nowadays, I'm very suspicious about this. People are usually justified by throwing the responsibility to external factors and saying that you are a good person, but you know your family is very bad. We have to be careful. Is it really justifiable or not? I mean, we have to be honest. But if it is not within my free will, the scope of free will, I'm not responsible for it because it's not an option for me. But as long as it is an option, I have to struggle. How much? Of course, I'm not expected to change overnight, but I have to struggle, bearing in mind that I am responsible for my free will. Then I have to educate myself, train myself by making the decision. For example, let's say I am a drug addict. Okay. Somebody may come to me and say that, look, you have a free will not to take the drug today, so you shouldn't take a drug today. No, human beings train themselves in human nature, gradual training. I have to make decisions within myself that I have to quit this addiction. What shall I do? There are training centers. I may go there. And they are therapists I may take if I can. Of course, if I can't. For example, it may be expensive and I may not have the financial facilities to support it. That's beyond my, again, free choice. But I have to struggle for it rather than saying that this is my addiction, I cannot get out of it. But justification does not help me. But bringing the responsibility on myself helps me, but with one condition. What is that? Bringing the responsibility on me may turn against me, make me a person who is overwhelmed by sense of guilt. Sense of guilt is also a negative attitude for me. I should not turn this responsibility into sense of guilt. But I have to say, look, as much as I can, I should try. I should try. Whoever tries, I am sure at the end, it may take a long therapy sessions, but at the end, God will respond in a positive way to this person. Just I have to try. That's why, for example, God keeps telling us that if you do something wrong, repent. What does it mean? God doesn't say, you shouldn't have done it, but you gave me another life today. Why did you give it to me? Yesterday I made a mistake. That was yesterday, but today you give me life again. You gave me life again. It means you are giving me the opportunity. I have to repent for the mistake I made yesterday. But this repentance must be a sincere one within myself. It means consistent within myself, so that I will be using my free will in the positive way. I should not make this mistake again, and be decisive about it, resolute about it, so I may not make it again. That is why I have to take the responsibility on me, but should not make myself in a position that I may lose my confidence within myself that I can do it. So to a certain extent, it must take a gradual development, not overnight change. I understand this, but try, I feel that please, for me and for every one of us here, try to take up the responsibility on you in order to mend our mistakes, repair our mistakes. It means try to make right choices as much as possible, as long as these choices are within our scope of free will. If it is, for example, biological illness, excuse me, but I feel sick now, I'm going to throw out, God forbid. So I cannot stop it. Am I responsible for it? I cannot stop it. It's not my choice. We have to understand. But this matter becomes very, very sensitive as far as the psychological problems are concerned. But we have to be honest. Have we decided firmly that I am going to overcome this weak point in me? Have I made this resolution? To answer, everybody should. I don't know about people. I have to think about myself, and I have to apply it to myself. Everybody has to apply to himself or herself. So we have to take up the responsibility. That's what my point is. So if I throw the burden on others, especially on external factors, and make myself pure and a correct and perfect man, I will never, ever overcome my problems, ever. So I think we have to be fair. After being reminded by Maha, I'm very pleased to hear her voice as well, my very, very old friend. Now, I'm not expected to change overnight. And I have to take up the responsibility, but doesn't not to the extent that it may make me despaired that I cannot do it immediately. So I cannot do it, leave it. No, I have to say, okay, I'll try my best. Always, always, I will do step by step, gradual change, and try to correct myself. If you agree with this, we can move to the next verse, which is also extremely important and somehow related to this subject. Any further questions, comments, rejections, objections? I'm very happy to hear. Otherwise, we'll go then. Verse 39. When risale-i illa ma sa'a. It's a very, again, universal principle in the Quran. One of the very practical questions, the practical principle in the Quran, that man can have nothing but what he strives for. Do you see the relationship between the previous verse and this one? 38 and 39. We cannot have anything, we cannot claim anything for ourselves except what we strive for. It means, for example, I may grown up in a religious family, and I may take up the habits or the cultural elements in the family culture, and I may claim that, well, that's what I know, that's how our family tradition is, and I'm just following it. Did I strive for anything, whether it's true or not? Which ones are correct, which ones are not? Did I labor? Sa'i is labor, striving for the truth to obtain, or just I found myself in a family culture, which may be Muslim, which may be Christian, which may be atheist, whatever, or agnostic, or totally secular, mundane people. So that's how I was grown, and I follow my family tradition. It may be right, it may be wrong, but right and wrong will be accidental because I was there. Not accidental, but God created me in this family. It doesn't mean that because I was brought up in a Muslim family that I will go to paradise. That's everybody understands this, because accidentally I was born into a family which follows the right tradition. Do you think it would be just because another person was born into a family which follows a wrong tradition? Both of them are following the family tradition. One of them is, as far as the person is concerned, accidentally means found himself. Do you think both of them are equal or not, as far as following the family tradition is concerned? Any answer? Or did I make the question clear? Again, I think there is no answer, so I think I couldn't make my question clear then. Somebody is born into a family which follows right tradition, right religion, true religion, let's say. Another person is born into a family which is totally wrong, let's say wrong. Both of them follow the family tradition. Is there any difference between these two people?
No difference, they're equal.
So, but one of them is following the right one, the other one is following the wrong one. Why? There is no difference.
They're not striving for anything, maybe?
Sorry?
They're not striving for anything, like in this verse, illa ma sa'a. Like they're not really sa'ing anything.
No, so in English, let's say, oh, excuse me, I hit the wrong. Okay. So it means he did not strive. Now, both of them are equally responsible to strive. Do you agree? As much as they can, as much as they are given the opportunity. But the outcome may not be the same, but the responsibility is within the scope of their striving for the truth, trying to find the truth. If I don't strive for anything, it means really make my best effort on anything, the result may be given to me in a positive way or negative way is not my responsibility. For example, now, it is a very, I don't know whether I am really making it clear. Okay, let me say, they are both utilizing their free will in the same way. No, they are both following this. Okay, now say it's because they both think it is right. Now, this is the answer to the previous question. What does it mean then? What is my responsibility as far as this principle is concerned?
To question everything yourself?
Oh, I see. Somebody reminded me, my co-host reminded me that I have missed Ali's comment. Yes, I'm sorry, Ali. One born into wealth and one born into poverty. are given different conditions for the spending, keeping, and gaining of wealth. Ali, yet that's an excellent example where the responsibility is left or remains. Where the responsibility remains, Ali. Would you like to explain us? It's a good comment.
I I think it makes me think of Allah gives to who He will and restricts from who He will. There were townships that were great and were destroyed, and there were even claims against the prophets, peace be upon them, that they were but humans and they were raised. Where someone comes from necessarily gives them an opportunity in both ways.
Okay, thank you, Ali. Now, what we have to understand here, of course, I was created in a, let's say, a Muslim family. Another person is created in an atheist family. That decision is from Allah. But what is my responsibility? Don't I have any responsibility? Or can I say, God put me in a right position, so I'm lucky, the other one is not lucky? Do you think God acts on luck? And accident means, luck means accident. God creates accidentally? No, everybody is responsible within his environment, within his conditions, to make the strive. So I say, also it is a common sense for everyone, you can inherit money from your father. You cannot inherit belief from your family, from your father. That's what the famous saying that the messenger Muhammad said to his daughter, you can get property from me, but you cannot, I cannot save you. It means you have to strive for it, for belief, for doing right things. That must be your choice. Another very tricky, or I mean, not very easy to understand question is this. I was born into a very poor family, extremely poor. So that's how I was born. It wasn't by choice. I got no inheritance from my parents. But another person, let's say, for example, the last person who spoke here, his name is Ali as well. So I like Ali. So Ali was born into a very wealthy family, and his father, or whatever family, passed away, and he inherited a lot of property. Are we equal as far as the responsibility is concerned? He has a lot of property, he doesn't have to work or anything, but I have to struggle. That is not my choice. Inheritance is God's choice. That's not my choice. For example, what is the responsibility of the rich man? What is the rich man means inherited a lot of wealth from his parents. What is the responsibility of the poor man poor man means who hasn't inherited any property, any wealth from his parents? Is there any difference between two? As far as the responsibility is concerned.
There's no difference. They should have equal responsibility in terms of striving for finding whatever according to the situation they're in. They have to find whatever the truth is.
No. Can you, thank you. Thank you. I agree with you. That's why I'm happy to hear something, what I support, what idea I support. So can you give an example? As a poor guy who hasn't received any inheritance, what is my responsibility? And as a rich guy, Ali, our friend Ali here, who has received a lot of billions of dollars wealth. As far as the striving responsibility is concerned, what would you advise me? What would you advise him? And what is really our scope of responsibility? Did I make the question clear? Scope of my responsibility. Any practical example, solution to this question? We have to understand the verse. We say it's easy that man can have nothing but what he strives for. Okay, if someone says, I know the Arabic as well, and risale-i doesn't help me at all. I have to understand what it really means. I have to strive for it to understand it. So both of us, me and our friend Ali, have to strive. I have to strive not to be jealous of Ali. I have to strive to make my own means of life, my own bread, and a means of living in this world. Ali has to strive for something else. Who can help me? Who can help Ali? Please, help Ali. What is he expected to strive for? Help Ali now. Now you can tell me, my name is Ali as well, but Ali, you have to work and try to make your living. That's easy to tell me to work because I have no option anyways. But my friend Ali doesn't have to work. Do you think he doesn't have any responsibility? Please speak up.
I think that the wealthy Ali will have to work on how to manage the wealth, perhaps.
Yeah, manage. He has to manage, correct? Excuse me. Okay. He has to manage. That's correct. But I am responsible to make my work, my striving to get my living conditions, living means in the right way, in the licit way. He has to struggle again to manage the property in the licit way, and very difficult not to waste it. Not to waste it. Which is easy. For me, if I have $1, I have to watch out to use it in the right way. If my friend Ali has $1, does it bother at all? May not. He has to bother as much as I do. We are in the equal terms. The amount of property, wealth, should not affect my responsibility while I am using my free will. My responsibility is the same. Keep the right way, licit way, true way, that I have to make decision accordingly. What is right? That I have to choose. I have to be honest in my work to make my living. My friend Ali has to be honest in his work to use, to utilize, to manage the property left to him in the right way, in the licit way. I have to be careful for my $1. He has to be careful for his $1 equally. Does it make the case clear? Equal. If he says, oh, I have millions of them, why should I bother $1? About $1, I can just order it online. It's very easy now. Just click on one button. You can buy anything, whether it is needed or not. But I have a lot of money. Why not? The very famous phrase, which is used in English, which is, equally dirty phrase, which says, as long as I afford. What? As long as I afford, I can buy it. No. What the Quran teaches, as long as you need, not what you can afford. No. For example, I have no money. That may be a strange rule for you, because it is not commonly used, because people may misuse it. That's why the scholars don't say it. I am hungry, really hungry. And I strive for it, but couldn't find any job, no one, neighbors, no one take care of each other. So what shall I do? Shall I fall ill, sick, or at the end get disease, undernourishment? No. I can steal from the store. Don't say stealing from the store is justified by this person. No. If you are about to really, really suffer, no, there is no option for you to make any income. And there is no option for you to get the food. You can steal. It is illicit in Islam. So if I have money, I cannot waste it. If I don't, it is easy to manage. I can steal. My problem is easy. But my friend Ali's problem is not that easy. While you have millions in your hand, opportunity, it is more difficult than working to restrain yourself. It means you have to be really careful in both examples. We have to take care of this kind of things. I think before the time is up, I would like to move to the verse 40, which is very closely related to verse 39. وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى. That is the promise from my Creator. And that his striving shall be seen. What does it mean? Shall be seen, shall be rewarded. Definitely, whatever you strive for, you will be given. That's what I understand from this verse. Not necessarily to see it by your eye. It means you get the result, experience it. So that is the promise of my Creator, saying that if you strive, you will be given. But not immediately. Not immediately, but not definitely that it should, we have to be very careful that we shouldn't turn it into a bargain with the Creator, saying that, look, I worked for it and you have to give me now. No, we don't know. I work for it for what? Accordingly, my Creator chooses to respond back to my, for my work in a way that what my intention is. For example, I am working to, let's say, to learn something useful in order to be helpful to the people. I'm trying to strive for it. For example, I have a good intention. I am trying to work to help you or to my neighbor. And I say, I do the job, whatever that my neighbor is supposed to do, rather than letting him do it, I will do it for him. So what happens now, definitely, I am expecting the reward, but it doesn't mean that my neighbor will benefit from my help. No, it is something else. It is something else. My neighbor may get spoiled. I don't know. I have to watch out whether I am spoiling my neighbor or I am really helping him about something that it needs help. It needs help. So I have to be really watchful and careful about the outcome of my work. If I do something knowingly that I will spoil my neighbor, but whatever, okay. But I cannot be rewarded for my action because by helping my neighbor, I may spoil him. By helping my children, I may spoil them. Oh, so the result, for example, I helped my children, so I am waiting for the reward. But if I am not watchful that I am spoiling them or not, I may help them, but at the same time, rather than reward, I may get punishment because I wasn't careful about spoiling. So it is not equal that the work I do and the reward must be equal. No, no. I have to work, but for a good reason. I have to make the decision between right or wrong. For example, instead of, let's say, instead of reading a book which is really useful and helps you to understand the reality, you say, okay, I'm doing the same thing, reading a book, but this book is just trash. It speaks nonsense. But you say, I read the book for 1 hour. The other person says, I read the book for 1 hour. One of them was to strive for the truth. The other one is just entertain himself. But work-wise, and use the Quranic word, sa'i, labor-wise, they did the same labor. But of course, we have to be careful for what purpose that we are spending our energy. We are working for what purpose? It is also equally important that we have to work, but we have to work for a good reason, so that I will be rewarded accordingly. These are important matters, but I know my limitations. I feel that these principles of the Quran, which we have been reading, this is the third principle we read now so far. We will have many other principles we are going to, inshallah, study in the following weeks. Not very easy, not straightforward, that we can read it literally, and say that, okay, come on, work for what? So you have to use your money in the licit way, which is called in Islamic tradition, halal way, licit way, okay. But licit way means, okay, I'm going to buy something not prohibited, but do I need it? Or am I buying it just because I can afford it? That is the point. That is the point. So I have to be very careful for what reason I am using my labor. Therefore, for what reason I am making the decision. It means using my free will. I think, let me see the time. Time is up. Before going to the, oh, excuse me, again. Okay. So the following. Then he shall be paid for it with the fullest payment. That is the result. But this is another principle, to be paid for the fullest payment. What does it mean? I think these are practical verses, very practical verses. Then we have to speak a lot. You have to speak a lot as well. You have to help me to explain this matter in a practical sense. We have to give a lot of practical examples so that we have to apply these beautiful guidance that we receive from our Creator, inshallah. Would you like to make more comments or explain, help me more? And otherwise I will say, okay, next Monday, excuse me. Next Monday, inshallah, we will meet, although it will be the second day of the Eid. Of course, we will make the Eid by studying the Quran. I prefer it. If you come and join us, I will be very happy, inshallah. Would you like to have any further comments, questions, concerns? Let me see, somebody wrote something. Is there class this Saturday morning? I think in English, yes. Not. It means our class must be, because those people who join on our Saturday class are not aware of what is going on in another, on the other side. So those people who cannot join us because they have other sessions, we respect them. But normally, inshallah, this Saturday we will have it, inshallah. Whoever can come, most welcome, inshallah. Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. May Allah accept your fasting, your prayers. These are the days of very blessed days, so that we are expected to concentrate on our real spiritual side of us, let's say, so that we can feel closer to Allah, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.